Hi everyone. Today we're going to talk about the Ouija board. I got a question from Peter in New York City, and he wanted to know if it was safe to use a Ouija board. He inherited one from, okay, I'll read you his letter. My mother passed away, and going through her things, I found a Ouija board. I remember her playing with it as a child, and I wondered if it was safe to keep it. And then he asked other questions about how to use it. First and foremost, if you want a Ouija board, get a brand new one. Have one that's inherited by someone you know. And most importantly, decide what you're going to use it for. This is where people get into trouble. And yes, I know there's this little book out there called The Evils of Ouija Board or something. You know, it's all about the Ouija board and these horrible stories of people, you know, having horrible things happen to them. And if you read that book, you would know that everyone in that book never said who they wanted to come through. It's just like when you go for a reading with a medium. You know who you want to talk to on the other side. Why would you be any different with a Ouija board? You know, when you sit down, you ask to be protected. You ask that only those that watch over you come through. And that if anyone else wants to come through, they have to come through those that watch over you. That's the safest way. You know, for example, I'll give you an example. My grandmother on my mother's side watches over me. So when I sit down with a Ouija board, I would call her and ask her to come through, make sure she's there, have her move the little planchet around and say, yes, it's me. And, you know, then say, can I talk to so-and-so? Or, do you have anything to tell me? It's perfectly safe to use a Ouija board. It's not safe when you're ignorant. It's not safe when you're not taking precautions. So it's not the Ouija board in itself, it's the people who are using them. So personally, if this is something your mother did and you saw her do it and you know, use it. Ask her to come through on it. Talk to her. Use it for just talking to her. But don't sit down with 100 people, you know, in a little room and, you know, just say, okay, who's there? You know, that's where you get into trouble. Because when you have, this is what happens, when you have a lower energy, you have a lower vibration level, when you're not in a good place, you pull on those people who are in that in those lower dimensions. And they're like, oh, hey, the door's open. Let's go. Let's go through this door. You know, let's tag onto these people. And yeah, you know, it can take over the board. It can take over the house. It can take over, you know, whatever. There are bad energies out there. But the only way that bad energy can attract to you is if you're a lower energy. Or you open the door to that lower energy. So just remember to protect yourself. Use the board wisely. I'm not advocating everyone go out and get a Ouija board. Not everyone needs one. But if you decide to use one, you and one other person, you can also do it by yourself. So don't think you have to have that second person. If you're going to do it by yourself, put only your right hand on it, because two of your hands will be too much energy to weigh down the planchet for whoever's coming through to move it around. So just your right hand lightly on it and ask. You know, if you don't know who watches over you, call a family member first. You know, call someone you know who's crossed over and say, please come talk to me, or please come help me know who watches over me. And through that person that you trust, find out who watches over you. And then pull that person in, and then, you know, start talking to that person. But don't just open it up to anyone and everyone. That's where you get into problems. And for me, I used a Ouija board almost all my life. When I get in a funk and I can't think, or I hear my grandmother talking to me, but I just don't get it, sometimes I need the visual. Sometimes I need it spelled out in front of me. And, you know, so I pull out a Ouija board that was my mother's, and she and I, you know, used it, and I've had it ever since I was a kid. And, you know, I get my questions answered, or I get kind of pushed in the right direction. Just like going to psychic reading, that's what a Ouija board is for. But it's sad that so many people have abused it and not known how to properly use it. So if you don't know how to use it, don't use it. You know, if you think it's going to be some fun thing to have at a party, throw it away, burn it, put it in the trash. If this is something you just want to use for yourself, for higher knowledge, for better direction in your life, it's perfectly fine. But again, take precautions. Know who you're going to ask to come through. You know, even if someone new comes along, even when my mother crossed over, my grandmother told me on the board, your mother's here. That's someone who's concerned about your protection, concerned about your life, you know, that no one comes in and harms you. So again, just use precaution and enjoy it. I mean, enjoy talking to your mother on the other side. It's fabulous. Ciao.